fairly quickly, and he's got a couple bunkers in the front, so he's doing pretty well economically. And if we return to the income tab, you're right, Artosis has been macroing up and now at 36 drones.
Now, while that drop was going on, we actually just barely caught the end of another drop. I just caught a glimpse of it over at Artosis' base. If you take a look at that Spire, what just happened there was TLO also did an exact same drop with 4 Marauders, and he actually tried to stem and focus down that Spire as it was making. It was down to about 60 HP, considering they have 600 HP. It was really close, but that's not going to slow down Artosis' building of Mutalisk here. But Mutalisk against 2 Terran can be really hard to pull off.
I think so, because if you go with Mass Mutalisk off of Artosis right now, and on top of that, he's revealed that he's got a Spire. As you said, the little one dropped on it and tried to take it out. He's revealed he's got Mutalisk. Now the Terran player is going to be able to adequately defend. We have a couple of missile turrets for the little one on his main base right now, and on top of that, he's got a Thor, he's got Marines. It's going to be very difficult for the Mutalisk to deal damage. Meanwhile, a dropship going off for Jinro here right into Artosis' base. So Jinro moving across the map with his own Marauder army and gonna try to do some damage here. Let's see what he can do. He's gonna get surrounded by the Speedlings. Good night, Marauders.
I think he was trying to snipe that Queen there. It was a couple of shots away from death, and the Marauders actually could have killed it there, but they got stuck up on those Zerglings. Apparently they were just kind of deciding not to attack. So he was trying to do a Queen snipe there. Obviously that didn't end up working out. I mean, he basically just gave 4 Marauders trying to kill a Queen. Not really worth it. But again, the Mutalisk not that good against this army, so I still think they're in pretty okay shape.
Yeah, the Mutalisk and Zergling Baneling build from Artosis, I just can't quite agree with this. I really think Artosis needs to tech up. He needs to get some Infestors and possibly some Broodlords. I think Broodlords would be a huge benefit to this Zerg army, especially considering the Protoss composition of all of these ground army units right now. And look at this, we have some 3 Ravens from Jinro moving in from the north. I don't know how much damage this is going to be able to do, but they are going to unload some auto turrets on these probes.
Now, this is actually a pretty good strategy to do if you are someone who likes to use Ravens. Although, careful there, don't want the Ravens to get shot down by the Stalkers. Now, the problem with doing it right now is that QXE has a bunch of Stalkers with Blink, and so these auto turrets aren't actually doing that much damage. Usually this does work, but good control here from QXE, able to push that out.
And the Mutalisk from Artosis coming in here to clean up those very expensive Ravens. That was actually a very huge hit. I can't quite agree with Jinro moving out 3 extremely expensive high-tech Ravens all the way out by themselves without any defense, and then basically just losing them for no economic gain or damage whatsoever. So Jinro there kind of tossing away a couple of those valuable Ravens that really could have come into play later on. Meanwhile, some Mutalisk moving out on the other side of the map, gonna try to poke in and do some damage, gonna kill off this Marauder actually, as the 2 Terrans looking to claim that gold expansion.
Yeah, now they're moving out to that gold expansion, and those Ravens, that was about 600 gas worth of Ravens. So they're really going to have to move out to try and recoup for their losses in that regard. Now, Jinro, I think, should continue to produce Ravens. I think those Hunter-Seeker missiles can be so strong in 2v2. And I do like the fact that they have a bunch of Thors out on the field. The Thors are basically good against everything when you have a big ball like this. So the map is about to be cut in half here as they're securing that high yield.
Jinro actually has some siege tanks along with the little one shelling the gold expansion of QXE. Very nice positioning on these siege tanks where the watchtowers are, killing off all of the probes except for 2, and the Nexus might actually, yes, the Nexus is in range of getting shelled. Holy, those siege tanks have incredible range right there. That Nexus is like just barely within the pixel of getting shelled, and QXE is gonna lose this Nexus, has no mining going on at the gold expansion. Meanwhile, Jinro grabbing the gold for himself, and it looks like the little one interested in grabbing the bottom hand expansion on the bottom right hand corner.
Artosis had his Mutalisks out. He actually misclicked them a little bit. He had them out in the center of the field and actually lost all of his Mutalisks. So his army size definitely not looking very good here, because like we were saying, the Mutalisks just aren't that good against those, you know, Thors and Marines. They just melt away. And we've been mentioning these siege tanks up here on this high ground. This positioning is perfect. They're really abusing the map. I think that putting the siege tanks on the Xel'Naga watchtowers is one of the very strong things about this map for Terran. Completely abusing that to allow them to secure their own expansion while taking out an expansion. So they're definitely in a comfortable spot here, especially considering how many tanks and Thors they have right now.
I totally agree with you, Husky, especially if a Terran can control this gold expansion. What they can do effectively is place those siege tanks even behind the gold line, and they can shell all the way across the map and deny the other player of grabbing their own gold expansion. So over time, the Terran players from Team Liquid are really going to be bulking up, able to macro over, above, and beyond the enemy players. Now, it looks like QXC is interested in pushing out. He's got a pretty menacing Protoss army here, and I think, Husky, it's going to come down to those side storms and whether or not he can storm the crap out of the Terran army.
He's really going to have to be careful with his units here because the units clump up so well that the siege tank's able to do a lot of damage to those stalkers. They did get taken out, and careful with the Ravens there. Good control so far, though, and they are going to back up and as they're going to get pushed away here by this big ball. But really good control here from Jinro on those Ravens. We're going to have to wait and see. He doesn't have Hunter-Seeker missiles yet. It is on the way, so we're going to see some pretty epic explosions here once those are finally out.
Exactly, and the one thing that the Protoss player can do to counter those explosions is using feedback from his High Templar, and that can actually do a lot of damage to those Ravens if QXC can get in range and feedback the Seeker missiles before they come out. And look at this, massive storms going down over the Gold Expo. Jinro losing several of his SCVs there, and the Templars actually getting taken out, but that's okay because they did so much critical damage. QXC and Artosis are doing pretty well, but I'm not quite sure I agree with Artosis' build here. He's actually loading up quite a few Zerglings and Banelings into his Overlords.
Now, the Hellions actually running in here, seeing that they're getting loaded into those Overlords. Hellions are going to back out, but that scouting is going to tell him all he needs to know, that there's going to be a Doom Drop on the way. And these Overlords, though, are just filled with Zerglings and Banelings, so even if he gets inside the base, I don't know if it's going to do the amount of damage he needs, because they don't kill buildings nearly as fast as they do in StarCraft 1, especially since the buildings can clump up so well now. So Artosis is really going to have to get them out of position to make a drop like this work. And also there's a drop in the main of Artosis right now.
Yeah, Artosis actually pulled back to deal with that, and Liquid Jinro pulled out of there pretty convincingly, didn't lose any of his forces. But the thing is, Artosis, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to drop. Look at that, he's actually unloading his units because he revealed his drop technology to his opponent, so he's not going to do that right now. He's going to unload all of his Zerglings and Banelings. And one thing I just can't agree with Artosis is I really think he should be getting Roach Hydra right now, or something stronger than Zergling Baneling, because these Banelings and Zerglings are just going to get evaporated by the siege tanks currently holding the center of the map.
I think if I was a Zerg player right now, I'd be pretty sad going against Double Terran, because if you go the Roach Hydra, they're going to get owned by Siege Tanks and Thors. If you go the Mass Zerglings, they're going to get owned by the Hellions and Siege Tanks and just about everything. And so I think his only viable option right now is to get that Greater Spire, which is what he's doing, to try and get the Broodlords out, because then he can use the splash damage again.